Well, hello again, human beings from the planet Earth. Today we're going to talk about something, or I'm going to talk to you about something that is, it's a lot of things, isn't it? And that is joining the military. It involves a lot of hopes and dreams. It involves a lot of emotion. Now, I wanted to tell you my story so that this could be a tool for parents or young people to make a decision about whether you would join the military or not. Before we get into it, I want to say that thank you for your service. If you're a military member, thank you for your service. And may I apologize that our government lied to you and probably ruined your life. So my real father took off, I believe, while my mother was still pregnant. He was traumatized from Vietnam. I had spent time with him my late teen years, 18, 19, because I wanted to get to know him. Um, he was he flew air rescue in Da Nang. So if anybody from that era knows James Richard Allen, that was my real father. Can't say that I respect him in any way, but I want to tell you his story and then continue on to my experience again as a warning. So he went off to Vietnam. When he came home, first of all, it kept him separated from his only child, me. Luckily for me, my stepdad, oh man, he's been around since I was like 3 months old. He's dad. Uh, Other than that, I wouldn't have, had a positive male influence on my life. But as I got older in life, I didn't hate my real father. I wanted to know him. I wanted to understand. So I went out there to Illinois, spent some time with him. I tried it his way because he had always made me feel like you're never going to be anything unless you go to college. Or he knew that I had joined the military and was only in for a short time, but he looked down on the locals here, the poor people, which is exactly where he came from. So that was always a problem to me. But in his later years, he tried to write a book about his experience. Now, I want you to imagine a young guy, he's in a helicopter, he's in a war-torn area, and he comes in to rescue that platoon or those group of men. And just before he gets to them, they're all mopped down. He got there a second too late. Can you imagine the amount of grief that man carried with him? So I don't hate him for not being there in my life. I dislike his personality as an adult male with a child in the world. So I guess the point is that he was traumatized from life. It kept him from having a relationship with his child, and probably ruined his life in many ways that I'm even unaware of. He spent many years on drugs. There's a lot of things. He did very well for himself because through one of his drunken parties, he ended up on the couch of a college girl whose family was wealthy, tied to, I think it was Amoco Oil. Um, anyway, a lot of money. He lived the high life for the rest of his life because, yeah, anyway, before I get pissed off, let's move on to my experience. So I'd always loved my country, but didn't really know a whole lot, you know. And as a young, poor person, growing up here, at least in the White Mountains of New Hampshire, you really didn't have a way out of being poor unless you joined the military. Yeah, or you got lucky. Those were the two ways. And I, like now, loved driving. So I decided that I was going to join the Army Reserves and defend my country, get an education, but also be here at home and work in the community. I thought that was a great option. I could get the college education that I needed, wanted at the time. I could serve my country. And so I took that oath. I went through basic training. And although I was probably the smallest guy in my platoon, or even in my company, 105 pounds, I made it through basic in the top three. I was number 3. I was in great shape. I worked very hard. Even the drill sergeant that was hard on everybody and was especially hard on me gave me respect. He saw how hard I worked. So we get through basic, right? Expert with grenade throwing, marksmanship. I'll kill you dead in hell. Not a problem. And I'm supposed to go to AIT, that's your Advanced Individual Training. That's the training you receive for your specific job. And my job was to be a truck driver. The only problem is that when I signed up with our local recruiter, I didn't have a license. And a friend of mine had joined under him. My friend isn't a very intelligent person. He's not, I mean, he's a nice guy, but he doesn't have high intelligence. He doesn't have an understanding of a lot of things. And so that's how I got connected to this recruiter and ended up Army Reserve being the best choice. That's what my buddy did. So I tell the recruiter, I can't, my license is suspended. So even at 17, I already got my license suspended because I was a bit of a hellraiser back then. Oh, it's not a problem, he told me. You'll be driving a military vehicle with a military license on military property. The state of New Hampshire has nothing to say about it. You can get your training, and in that time, you'll be able to pay your fines and get your license back. And by the time you get out, you'll have a clean license, you'll have a military license, and everything will be great for you. Sign me up. So I get through basic and I excel at it. Get to AIT. Very first minutes of the first day. And the drill sergeant, or the instructor rather, asked everybody to pass forward their civilian licenses. My hand went up. Excuse me, Sergeant, I don't have mine. You better run back to the barracks and get it, boy. You got 3 minutes. No, Sergeant, you don't understand. My license is suspended. What the hell are you doing in my class, boy? Well, my recruiter told me, sir. 200 people laughing at me because I believe my recruiter. Now, I want you to focus on the point that this recruiter is, in that moment of talking to me, your goddamn government lied to me. Go to reclass, boy. You're not supposed to be in my class. Well, then I'm going home. I can't do. You promised to teach me to drive truck, and I can't do that. My recruiter lied to me. I'm going home. See, I've always been big on your word. If your word isn't worth a fuck, you're not worth a fuck. And I live by that to this day. If I give you my word, unless God has a different way of doing things, it's going to happen. Oh, you're not going home, Mr. Allen. No, 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 no. You see, right down here at the bottom of all the other words, if for any reason we cannot provide your job training or you're not able to complete your job training, you must be reclassified under the original terms of the agreement. So in other words, if you can't do your job or there's no training available that day, instead of that, you'll be given a list of choices and you will fulfill the same amount of time working in service to the military, but you'll be doing a different job. Not a job you agreed to, maybe not a job you want to. So in my case, one of the options was carpenter mason specialist, 51 Bravo, combat engineer. I already had a lot of basic carpentry skills. I knew nothing about masonry. And I said, well, at least I can pick up another trade, the masonry, to go along with my carpentry. And I can use that. And plus, it was the shortest. Now, keep in mind, I was jump qualified. I could have gone airborne. I could have done a lot of things. But I'm not doing anything for anybody that lies to me. And so I went through my AIT. I don't regret that part of it. Yeah, because part of that training was how to blow things up. And I still have my memory. So I haven't needed that skill yet. But you never know. You never know. There was also rope bridge building, things that you could. And I did my AIT. Well, first of all, I did my basic at Fort Dix in '88. AIT in Fort Lost in the Woods, Fort Leonard. And then the idea was that I was to come home, and I did great. Graduated, I think, if I remember right, I was in the top 10 of the class for the AIT. Get home. Well, don't have a license. The drills that I have to go to one weekend a month, and the place I have to go to check in to do my 2 weeks a year, are 45 minutes south of me. Well, a buddy got me to a couple of them, but when you're in a community that's poor, your friends are all poor, first of all, you don't even know if their car will make it 45 minutes, and that's a burden on someone else. My responsibility is a burden on somebody else. It was actually even a burden on the drill sergeant down there because I didn't have my own vehicle. So he had to, you don't stay in the barracks on the weekend. You come home at night, you go back in the morning. So in other words, drive 45 minutes back and forth or stay with my sergeant. Sergeant had to put me up while I was there. Buddy had to bring me down. You don't always get released at the right minute. He can't do that. He's got his mom and his sisters to take care of. He can't do that every weekend. I missed my 2-week training and a couple of monthly drills. I was charged with AWOL. Something that wasn't even my fault. Now I'm going to look like the biggest fucking creep on the face of the earth because my recruiter, my government, lied to me. So I went back to the recruiter, and see, he's not very smart either. You'll learn a little bit more about him in a minute. I said, look, man, this isn't fair. You lied to me. You knew I didn't have a license. Now they want to charge me with AWOL. What if I went full-time? Instead of reserves, we take the 8-year contract and we go full-time. You guys drop the AWOL. I'll go full-time. And then that takes care of the problem. I don't have a black mark. I fulfill my duty to you. Everybody gets what they want. You get some brownie points for changing a reservist into a full-time military member. Everybody's happy. He said, great. I'll get back to you in a week or so. Don't worry about the AWOL. I'll fix it. So he called me up. I think it took him about 3 weeks to get it done. I think it was 3 weeks. Might have only been a week. I'm not quite sure. But he called me back. I remember the conversation quite well. He said, we got the AWOL dropped. You got 3 choices. You can stay stateside, you can go to Hawaii, or you can go to Germany. Oh no, Sergeant. I have a 4th option. I can stay right to fuck here and do nothing. You can't bring the AWOL back on me. That's double jeopardy. And I'm not serving another fucking day. Short while later, whatever it took for the process to go through, I was conveniently transferred to the inactive ready reserve. And I had to stay, not be a criminal, stay healthy, of good mind. And if they ever wanted me for during that 8-year period or whatever was left, they could call me back and I would have to serve. Never got a call. People have asked me over several years if I was a veteran. I don't claim to be, because I think that takes away from the men and women that did sacrifice everything with the understanding that they were defending you and I. It's all a deception. Defense does not happen outside of your property lines or your person. That's defense. Anything beyond what you own or what you are is offense. They haven't been serving to defend us. They've been killing people to help build an empire that's now run by corporations and billionaires. But they did it. You know what it takes to leave your family? And I can't even imagine being someone like my real father, responsible for men, and see him get wiped out. I actually can a little bit, because a good friend of mine later in life joined the Army. He was a reservist. He's a Christian man. Ed, if you somehow find this video, miss you, buddy. I think he's in Washington now. Ed's Latino, served. This man would not swear. He didn't drink. He didn't have sex. He was still a virgin at almost 30 years old. He's a dedicated Christian. And when he came back from his time in Iraq, I saw him have outbursts driving through traffic. Things like, I'm out to 50K on this truck and you will get out of my way, you fucking asshole. Traumatized for life. A complete change in nature of this kind, man. Awesome guy. Loved Ed. Still do. But I know what he suffers. I know what my dad suffers. And I know that if your son, daughter, or you yourself are considering signing up for the military, in one way or another, you're being lied to. Now I'm going to give you a little background on the recruiter that signed me up. And I want to make note of when I told you that 200 people laughed at me, that's 200 people that know somehow that the recruiters are all lying. This was not an isolated case. This was not one recruiter that did that. It is part of the apparatus. That's how they do things. Anyway, that recruiter was a failing recruiter, and some years after, when I moved home to New Hampshire, he got out of the military. I don't know whether he was kicked out or timed out or found unnecessary or why, but he became a local police officer who had a hard-on for me because I made him look like a complete fucking asshole. Like he made me look like a complete asshole. Call it fair. You know what he also did? He adopted a young girl. And then he got convicted of molesting her just after she turned 16. I forget how long she was in his care. Sergeant McClellan. Oh, you're not a sergeant anymore, are you? You're a registered sex offender. And we don't know where you are because we don't know where you are. Because we never bothered looking. We don't care. We hope that you died a gruesome death. I think we're up to over 80 countries, 80 foreign governments that our government has either destabilized or had a hand in destabilizing. We're sending our young men and women who, in cases like mine, which I'm sure are many, don't have another way to get the education they need or to see a way out of their small town. They're poor, they have no resources, and they love their country. And it only makes sense. I had an uncle that joined the military. My favorite uncle, him and I were best buddies when I was a little kid. He joined the Marines, worked his fucking ass off. Well, the last time I spoke to him years ago, he said that he was getting out because he had, I think he had like almost 25 years in at that point. He had the choice. Now remember, he's from a poor small town too. His dad died when he was young. My grandmother had died at this point. Anyway, they weren't rich. They just middle lower class. You know what the military told him? You either get out now and don't get your full retirement benefit, or you lose the $30,000 that you think you have to go to college. So at whatever age he was at that point, didn't finish and get the full. I forget the exact numbers, so I'll just give you that scenario. He quit before he intended on quitting. Otherwise, in other words, the goddamn government lied to him as well. Another poor kid from the country thinks his only way out is to serve his country and get that college money. It's happening day after day after day. Our young men and women going to die believing that they are defending us. And unless they stay stateside, and unless somebody comes here to attack us, it's not even defense. Now, again, I'm going to close out by thanking all of you that have served. I do not blame anybody who committed horrific acts because they were deceived by our own goddamn government. But in respect of what they thought they were doing, I also will never call myself a veteran or look into any benefit that I may have from the government for that. And it's been suggested by many people that know better than I that even though I was in for that short time in the circumstances, that there may be benefit to me. I'm not taking advantage of that. I don't think it's the right thing. It's not the right thing to do for me. So I'm not going to do that. Anyway, I hope you find this of use. If I've angered you, you might want to ask yourself why. And if you believe I've lied to you in any way, make sure you put that in the comments, and also tell us where we can find that proof, because I assure you, I'm not known as a liar. Not known as a liar. I hate liars, is my opinion. They're thieves. They steal my right to the truth. And I hate them just a little bit less than I hate pedophiles and rapists and murderers. They're right up there, though, in the top 5. Anyway, much love, many, many thanks. If you have that desire, like many do, and I still do, to protect my fellow Americans, the ones that can't protect themselves. That's why a lot of us do it. We know there are people that just can't protect themselves. And we're willing to give a piece of ourselves to make sure that happens. This goes to the law enforcement as well. Do it locally. Serve locally. Yeah, don't let them lie to you anymore. Don't let them lie. We're in a world now that the technology we have, we don't need to leave. There's no justification for leaving the continental United States to defend the continental United States. Absolutely no need of it at all. Can't justify it in any way. Shouldn't have been justified before, but we're here right now. And I'll do whatever I can to change life for people I care about, and that's you. Anyway, much love. Like, subscribe, leave a comment for sure. And definitely, if you know somebody that's thinking about taking that leap from being a civilian into the military, share this video with them. Make sure they think long and hard and know exactly what they're signing up for and exactly what the contract says. Much love all. I'll see you in the next video.